Just a tough loss tonight, guys, for the Los Angeles Chargers, but when you score 15 points, you deserve to lose that game. I thought the defense overall did a pretty solid job. I mean, of course, I'm not happy giving up 181 rushing yards, but Kyler only had 145 yards, of course, a touchdown and a pick. The touchdown went to Dortch, and then the interception was to a defensive lineman. I'm still a little bit dumbfounded how the Chargers ended up losing this game, because they had a 4th and 1 that they picked up, and all of a sudden they're way into Cardinals territory. All they have to do, of course, is punch it in, and you're pretty much going to get that done. But unfortunately, they kicked the field goal. They go up 1 point at the time, and to that point, you're giving the Cardinals the ball with 3 timeouts to work with and a couple of incompletions, and then there's a unnecessary, roughness is what they call it. So there's an unnecessary roughness penalty. That's a free first down, of course. And then we saw James Conner have that reception, which ended up going for 33 yards. And to that point, you're just in serious trouble if you're the Chargers. They only had 2 timeouts to work with. They didn't have 3, and the Cards picked up a first down. To that point, you're taking a knee and just trying to get a field goal. So it's just one of those games where you just don't want to lose, man. You have a chance to go to 4-2, which would put you in very comfortable positioning to make the playoffs. Like, if the Chargers had won this game, they would have had probably a 70% chance to make the playoffs. But because they're now 3-3, it just significantly decreases. Now, the season isn't over. There's still a lot of football to be played. I think the Chargers did a lot of good in this game, but the bottom line is the reason why they lost this game, it's not because they gave up 181 yards. It's because they just don't have consistent wide receiver help to be able to beat man coverage. And yes, Herbert threw for 349 yards. He did a hell of a job, but there were so many plays in this game where Herbert had to hold on to the ball. There was good protection, and he just wasn't able to find anyone open. He had to throw it away or take a sack, right? Like, if Herbert doesn't get sacked 3 times in this game, then maybe the Chargers win. And the sacks were coverage sacks too. It wasn't like anyone was getting beat one-on-one on the Chargers O-line. There just wasn't anyone getting open down the field. J.K. Dobbins, 14 of 40, 2.9 yards per carry. No run game tonight. The reason why Herbert threw for 349 yards was because the Chargers couldn't run the ball. And in the second half, they just weren't even trying to run it. They were just throwing it on early downs, and it was successful. If only they had done that early on, though. But again, at the NFL level, you can't just not run the football. You've got to be a little bit balanced. 22 rushes, 27 passes, for example. Will Disley led the way, 8 for 81. As much as I like Will Disley, I mean, he cannot be leading your team in receiving yards and receptions. That's just not going to get it done. Although he is a very underrated tight end. Like, come on, man. Josh Palmer, 4 catches for 63 yards. Lavin Conkey, 5 for 46. No Quentin Johnston in this game, which is a huge loss. I'm not here to make excuses, right? If Johnson plays, do the Chargers win? Probably. We know as well Joey Bosa did not play in this game. He missed his 2nd straight. Dobbins had 3 catches for 26 yards. Jalen Reagor had a 41-yard catch, which is great, but he ends up fumbling the football. So, again, that was probably the biggest play of this game. I know Dan Orlovsky said it at the end of the broadcast. That was the play of the game, and I don't mean to steal that from him because I was going to say that regardless. But if that doesn't happen, I'm not saying the Chargers score a touchdown because they might end up kicking a field goal as well, but I feel like this is one of those plays where you look back on and it just cost your team the game. There was a lot of plays tonight that cost the Chargers the game, like that Dobbins reception, of course, unnecessary roughness, putting your hands on the face, just little things like that. But I mean, Dobbins, he just had a good game or a bad game this year. I don't think it was his fault. The Cardinals were just winning up front, right? So that's something that the Chargers are going to have to get cleaned up. But it's one of those games where it just wasn't a pretty game. It was one of those games where if we had won, I would have been like, okay, I'll take the win, but I'm not exactly thrilled with it. But a win's a win. But when you lose a game, like you should have had, I mean, the Cardinals, they're without 2 linemen, man. Their best lineman's out. They're down to their 3rd string tackle, and they just run all over the Chargers. So it's just frustrating, man. It's so frustrating. We talked coming into the season about how the defense year after year in the Herbert era was bad. This defense was great tonight. Like, the defense was really great tonight. They only gave up 17 points, and when you give up 17 points in the NFL, you want to win that game more often than not. But when you only kick field goals, you deserve to lose, right? I'm not here to say that the Chargers, they got robbed. Like, no, they should have lost this game, man. Field goal after field goal. And the Cardinals, they just made the plays they had to, right? I think the most unfortunate play in this game was the run by Kyler that went for 44 yards and a touchdown. He just beat the linebacker to the sideline, and as soon as he got past him, there was no one there. Just a bad angle. But yeah, that play hurt. Again, just some penalties that kind of went against the Chargers hurt. But this team they need more help on the outside, man. I thought coming into the year, that they would be better than people expected at receiver with Palmer, with McConkey, with Johnston, but that just has not been the case. These guys, they haven't been able to consistently get open, and we saw a couple of times today, or I guess tonight, when they were able to do that, but more often than not, Herbert, he just had to hold on to the football too long, and guys weren't able to beat that. So getting Johnston back is going to be huge. I don't know if the Chargers will make a trade, because if you guys followed Greg Roman with the Ravens, I mean, they never had a top receiver, alpha type of guy. It was always just basically run the football and use your tight ends. The Chargers, they like to use a couple of tight ends, but just when they can't run the football, they're just not a very good team, and that's exactly why they lost to a team that isn't very good. Because the Chargers, if they're not able to beat you on first and second down and third and long situation, Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the game, but he can't do it on his own, and you can't rely on, again, a rookie and Ladd McConkey. Josh Palmer's solid, solid 3-4 type of guy, but he was asked to do a lot tonight, and he made some plays, but it's just, we also saw, Simi Fehoko have a couple of catches, he had 3 catches for 45 yards. So, I think the next game, the Chargers, they're going to have to figure out the run game, because we saw, of course, last week against the Broncos, they were able to run the ball in the first half. In the second half, they kind of fell off. But, the Chiefs game, Steelers game, they couldn't run, they lost. So, every game, literally, the Chargers have lost this year. They've been terrible at running it. The Steelers game, non-existent. Chiefs game, non-existent. And then tonight, Arizona, non-existent. When you don't have good skill position players, you've got to be a good run-first team. But when the Cardinals are able to take away both, to that point, you're just relying on Justin Herbert to be able to do everything. And I thought he did a good job of stepping up in the pocket and making the right plays. Herbert's ankle looked a lot better too. It's especially against Denver, coming off of the bye, it looked good. I thought in this game it looked even better. But just one of those games where you really just didn't want to lose, but unfortunately you did lose. But the good thing for the Chargers is they have a very soft schedule the next month. Saints, who are down to Rattler, like Spencer Rattler at this point, that's a game at home. That becomes a must-win game now at Cleveland, versus Tennessee, versus Cincinnati. 4 teams that more than likely aren't going to make the playoffs. And then Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, Bucks. So 4 good games. So 4 really not great teams, 4 really good teams. I don't know if we can call the Falcons really good, but and the Bucks are pretty good. I guess 2 great teams and then 2 good teams. And then Denver, New England, Las Vegas. So I still think the Chargers are going to be in a good spot. This schedule is not that bad, man. We're talking about there's 10 more games left, and there's, again, 2 great teams, 2 good teams, and then the rest are not amazing. So plenty of opportunities here, man. Of course, of those 10 games, the Chargers, they're going to have to get, I would say, 7. They're going to have to win 7 of their next 10 games, if I'm being honest. To that point, that would put them at 10-7. And 10-7 is always what you want to aim for, because that usually makes the playoffs. 95% of the time you make the playoffs if you win 10 games. But obviously the division's out of reach now. The Chiefs are 6-0, but maybe 9 wins gets in. But there really just isn't a reason for the Chargers to not be able to win a lot of games moving forward. But they just need to get healthy, man. Missing their best receiver, missing their best, arguably their best defensive player. Maybe Derwin's better, but Joey Bosa is amazing. Mac's good too. But just getting healthy is going to be key. But losing to the Cardinals after a big road win against the Denver Broncos, who had won 3 straight games, is far from ideal. But as we all know, guys, football, things change, right? One week you beat a division rival on the road, the next week you lose to a really bad team that you're supposed to beat. But it is what it is, guys. Peace.